These crackers only need 4 ingredients, and they're so quick and easy to make. They turn out crisp and salty and are a great snack to have in your pantry. Let's make them together. The first step is to mix all the ingredients for the dough. Here I'm adding flour to my bowl. I will add just a little bit of sugar, but this is an optional ingredient and you really don't have to add it. Sometimes I add it and sometimes I don't, depends on how I'm feeling that day. I will also add some coarse salt. Don't worry about writing down all the measurements, they're in the description below, so you can try to make these at home as well. Along with the flour and salt, the third essential ingredient is some oil. You want to use a good quality oil, like an olive oil. Please don't be using seed oils, those are not very good for us. And this recipe does not require you to be super exact with the measurements. I'm just eyeing a lot of these measurements. I'm pretty confident in what a tablespoon of olive oil looks like, so I put in 2 tablespoons there. But if you're not as comfortable doing that, you can weigh out the ingredients or measure them, that is no problem. And finally, I added some water. Now I will mix this thoroughly. Here I'm using a Danish whisk. If you do not have one, it would be best to use a wooden spatula or a wooden spoon. Once I have a shaggy dough that is formed in the bowl, I am going to put down flour on a surface that I can use to just quickly knead the dough. You don't really have to knead it for long. You just want to make sure that all the ingredients are well mixed together. So it's easiest to do by putting it down on the countertop and just working it all into one ball. What I like best about this recipe is that it uses simple ingredients, and these are staples that most people have in their pantry, and we can pronounce all these ingredients. There's no preservatives, no refined oils, no hidden junk in this recipe. So here I just quickly kneaded it together and formed a just small ball. And I'm cutting it in half. So this will make 2 sheet pans full of crackers. We will be rolling this dough out. I'm trying to shape it into somewhat of a circle with my hands, but it's not a big deal the shape that you end up with. As long as you roll it out nice and thin, they will turn into delicious, crispy crackers. If you notice the dough is sticking to the rolling pin or to the surface, then put down some flour like I'm doing, and then we can continue rolling this out. You really want to roll it out nice and thin. That's what will make it nice and crispy. If you notice that the dough is kind of pulling back and it's tight and hard to work with, then just give it a second, give it a minute, walk away from it and come back to it. As the dough relaxes, it'll be a lot easier to roll it out. The second batch of crackers that you make, you'll notice it will be a lot easier and a lot smoother to roll out because that dough is sitting there relaxing. This is a really good way to introduce yourself to dough if you're not super familiar with it, to start to feel what it's like in your hands, to get familiar with how it sort of springs back, and also become more comfortable with the texture of it by slightly kneading it. So it's a great introductory lesson to dough. Once it is nicely rolled out and thin, I transfer it to a parchment paper because I will be using the parchment paper on a sheet pan to cook it. I'm still thinning it out on the parchment paper. Then I'm going to add the toppings. So my family likes to have just salt. My kids don't like any spices on it, but you could add any topping you would like. My husband likes to have garlic powder and oregano, and sometimes we put everything but the bagel seasoning on it. It's really up to you and up to your own preferences. But just for this recipe's purposes, I will put salt and some sesame seeds because I'm making these crackers for my kids. Once you put the topping down, you want to roll your rolling pin over it. This will just firmly press it into the dough so that it doesn't all just fall off or flake off when you lift the crackers. There are just a couple important steps left before you put them in the oven. And make sure your oven's preheating at 350 degrees. I am using a pizza cutter here to cut the dough into cracker sizes. I like to have little crackers that my kids will be able to grab. You can make whatever shape you would like. They are not all uniform. Sometimes I find it more fun when they don't all look the exact same. My kids get to pick and choose the size cracker that they want or the shape that they like. but it's up to you however you want to cut them. And then finally, I'm going to transfer it to a sheet pan. You should also poke holes into the crackers so that there's no air pockets that rise up. Once they're done cooking, after about 15 to 20 minutes, you should let them cool completely before you eat them because they will get nice and crisp. Now here's the second batch that I'm rolling out, and I'll go through it a lot quicker just so you can see the steps in the process once again in case you missed something. I normally cook my crackers for more about 15 minutes rather than 20 because my kids don't like them when they're super crunchy. I have young kids. My 2-year-old especially does not like to eat things that are too crunchy. Kind of like how he doesn't like to eat the crust on bread. So I make sure not to overcook them, but when my husband is going to eat this, I'll cook them a bit longer. He likes them to have an extra crunch to them. So after I went and used the pizza cutter to separate the crackers into their individual shapes, I'm now taking a fork and I'm just poking some holes in them. I want to do this to make sure there's no air pockets, but don't worry, even if you forget this step, they still taste delicious. So there's my second batch of crackers. And finally, the last step is to try them. So here I have my son. He was excited. He couldn't wait to get his hands on these crackers, and he loved them. Sometimes I'll serve them with hummus or with peanut butter on them or even with tomato and some fresh ricotta. They were crispy, crunchy, and absolutely delicious. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more wholesome recipes. Enjoy!